Welcome, everybody.
Hey.
How you doing? What's happening?
What is happening?
We are getting ready for this giant weekend. We have 3 shows coming up next weekend. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. That's the 17th and 18th. We're going to be in Chicago. Yep. We are planning. Ian is planning a food tour.
Yes, a live streamed food extravaganza.
Yep.
Not to be confused with the extravaganza. We should change the name maybe.
No.
Yes.
To not be
a
a
food crawl.
Food crawl. Yeah. Hopefully we'll do that Friday as soon as we get in. There's a couple places. Saturday.
So I shouldn't eat Friday morning is what you're
Exactly.
saying.
Don't eat.
Don't eat. Maybe I won't eat Thursday either.
Saturday, there are 2 places right close to the extravaganza venue. So we might be able to go before, middle, after even.
Mm-hmm.
Those are popular deep dish and tavern style pizza places.
They have deep dish in Chicago?
Apparently, that's the thing. I don't know what that means.
Somebody told me that deep dish pizza in Chicago is not Chicago pizza.
Yeah.
It's very confusing what people
I
have
don't
to
know
say.
if that's what they I don't know what they mean by that. And there's a couple other things, but wait, we got to welcome everybody. It is August 7th, 2024.
Yes.
And on the show today, oh boy, the Olympics. We'll be talking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some things. Brains.
Yes.
Guess what that is,
Yeah,
if you saw the image. Ouch, you're healed. And Sleepless, Live More. Anyway, there's a couple of topics. And then we'll be doing TikTok time, so that'll be fun. All right. Kill the intro music.
Bingo.
Bango. Anything else? Got my tickets. Can't wait to see y'all live.
Yeah.
Leona, hello. That's going to be fun.
I'm really excited about this because, one, I like doing away shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I like
getting
that,
away.
but I like
Yeah.
that we're only going to be in the plane for an hour. That's going to be nice.
Just an hour?
It's like an hour and 20 minutes
Yeah,
to
it's
fly
more
to
an
Chicago.
hour.
Yeah,
20.
something like that.
But, it's one of those jobs, by the time they get you up to altitude, you're coming back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's none of that.
Chicago Dog. I know. That's what we're not sure if we're going to go to Super Dog or just anywhere. A couple people we know in Chicago said, just go anywhere. All the dogs are good.
They're all good?
They're all good.
Those super dogs?
We are balls to the waltz. Oh, Walt. Yes. That
Are
is
they made
new
of
thing.
the animal byproducts?
I think so. Whatever they don't put in the pizza, they turn into
Put
a
in the
hot dog.
dogs?
Yeah. There's also Mr. Beef, which apparently is the thing to do in Chicago.
Is
That's
that
like
the inspiration for the bear?
It is. Yeah, I believe that's the whole
Beef.
thing.
Mr.
Mr. Beef.
Beef.
Italian beef is like the thing in Chicago. One of the
What's
things.
Italian beef?
I don't know. It's like not a cheesesteak, but like something in that style. Hoagie, meat, sauce.
I got yelled
I think
at.
peppers.
I got yelled at in
For
Philly.
what?
By who?
By ordering a chili Philly cheesesteak.
I asked, I'll take a cheesesteak, and the guy's like, no, man, no.
No,
That's not
that's not it.
And I'm like, what? And he goes, it's steak and cheese.
Steak
I'm
and
like,
cheese.
okay. I'm like, the rest of the world, like, you're known for the Philly cheese. You know what I mean? It's like one of
Yeah.
those things, like, for some reason, the rest of the world doesn't say it the way that they say it in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And then they guess that it's their job to bust everybody's stones. Who
Right.
comes in, like, I'll have Philly cheesesteak, please.
Yes, that's true.
I
Steve's hair
wonder
does
if
look
they
good, so.
change it
Just to mess with people.
just because, like, well, the rest of the
Probably.
world is saying Philly. We have to say something different.
Yeah.
Everybody likes your haircut, Steve. First
That's
of
good.
all,
I occasionally get my hair
he
cut.
occasionally does. We've been told Portillo's is not the move, and Mr. Beef is the move.
Wow.
So I don't know who to believe. So you come to your own conclusions and yell at us in the Discord.
Maybe we'll have to
Compare.
do a comparison.
We could drive around.
Let's get real. Let's get real.
Hopefully-
There's only so much we can eat and so
That's
many
true.
from this food. Yeah. Like we're going to land, we're going to have lunch right away.
Yeah.
It's got to be at one of these places. Then we're going to do dinner that night. Then we're going to have, we have 2 extravaganzas the next day. So that morning we have to have a meal. And then we have to have a meal between the 2 extravaganzas.
That's right.
So that's,
And then after, presumably.
I think we'll be lucky if we get 5
Incorrectamente.
meals in.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll figure it out. Yeah, and then also Sunday, there's some
Yeah.
shenanigans afoot.
Afoot.
So let's see. We do have some things that we can get to right away before people. Any other questions before we get into the?
Someone noticed that
goods?
Steve wears a blue shirt all
I
the
do.
time.
I actually forgot that.
And I wear a black shirt, I think, every day of my life.
So long as it's not green,
So
I think it's
Steve-
okay.
yeah, I'm trying to
down here.
pick a shirt that doesn't conflict with the green screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to have a solid shirt so that you can't wear lines.
Yeah, no stripes.
And no stripes.
Traditional vegan. Yeah, that's the other thing. All these
So-
places are like, I can't eat any of the food. Anyway, go ahead. They said get a vegan dog. What
Yeah.
is?
You can
do
eat
they even
I
have
pizza,
could
that?
wear
yeah.
my pink
Pizza, that's
shirt,
true.
I guess.
Yeah,
But
pink
I have,
shirt.
I have blue shirts. I have a lot of blue shirts.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm told they accentuate my eyes.
If you've seen the early,
Tell me more about
If you've seen the
my
early TikToks, everybody complained about how Steve's head was disappearing because the
It-
auto
yeah.
crop was like,
It's auto cropping my hair.
Yeah. Steve's hair absorbs the light around
Yeah.
it, like
Yeah.
remarkably.
TikTok is white hairophobic. Chroma key, yeah, exactly.
The ageism.
Ages, exactly.
So I realized something recently. Steve and I were talking.
Mhm.
Okay.
Apparently, we're recording our 1,000th show
In Chicago,
before,
right?
like, we will be recording. Like,
It'll be a couple of weeks before.
Yeah, but so
it's due.
it is our 1,000th show, but it is not the 1,000th show we record.
Right, because we have a couple extra shows to. Yeah. Well, we had to do it the weekend we're going to be in Chicago.
Exactly.
It was close enough. They're like, let's just do it that weekend. It's like a couple of weeks off, and then we'll just keep it in the can for 3 weeks and then it'll go up as the 1,000th.
Yeah, so all that
show.
matters
Exactly.
is what show we publish as the 1,000th
Correct.
show. It's just funny that we're recording it like 2 weeks before we get to
We should
1,000
record the
shows.
2,000th show
Next
next week.
week.
the week after that,
right.
It's awesome, man.
just to have it ready to go.
Just like really screw them up.
Ian, you like
Yes.
Middle Eastern food, correct?
Of course. What kind? I mean, there's so many varieties, but yeah, sure.
But
I mean,
you know,
like
your basic
the
Mediterranean.
basic Mediterranean,
cuisine.
quote unquote. I mean, like, falafel is like
Yeah.
fire.
So have
It's
you ever been to
crazy.
Hannah's in Danbury?
No, I've never been.
All right, Ian.
Really?
Very good.
It's excellent. It's
Okay.
excellent. We got to go.
I think it's the best Middle Eastern food we get in Connecticut. Definitely, it's got good. The hummus is great.
Amazing.
That's the-
Kibbe,
yeah.
the chicken, the shawarma. It's all really good. The taboulih's fine.
Yeah.
The thing is, I have not had any tabboulih that's not homemade tabboulih that I like.
Yeah.
To be honest, with you. That compares to the homemade.
Sure.
It's all fine. It's
Yeah.
just none of it's great
Doable. Yeah.
because it's just the great tabboulih is very labor intensive, and no restaurant's going to do
No.
that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly parsley and.
It's mostly parsley.
Yeah. The
vinegar
trick
of
is you
some
got
sort
you
of-
got to pull
It's
the
lemon
the
juice.
stems,
lemon juice. Yeah.
all the
A little
stem
bit of
off
mint,
the parsley.
mint. Then you have to put in the grain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The wheat grain. The
Yeah.
whole wheat grain.
Oh yeah, Bulgur wheat.
Yeah, the Bulgur wheat. Now my secret is, and I invented this myself. You're supposed to soak the bulgur in water, but I soak the
interesting.
bulgur
In
in
vinegar.
Lemon
juice.
juice.
Lemon
Yeah,
juice.
that's the
Lemon
way.
juice, which gives it that extra lemony zing.
Zing.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I knew you were gonna use that word.
You can't. If you're gonna use, you have to use zing to describe.
Yeah, I got you.
lemons. It's just
Is there another word for lemon? I mean,
Yeah, it's got a
sour tart.
tang to it.
Tang is good.
could be
Zing.
zesty.
What
then
is
that
a
confused
zing?
you with lemon zest.
Zing has a little bit of like tartness. Like whoa, you know. What
Is
I
it
mean?
like, but onomatopoeic? Is it like how you react
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
zing?
yeah.
Like
Zing.
Yes.
Trader Joe's tabbouleh is okay for
Yeah,
package?
okay is
You
like
know,
as
that's,
good as you get for
doable.
it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's amazing how good hummus is just with you make it on your own at
But-
home.
Yeah.
Chickpeas and lemon and all that.
Craig, have you ever
clean.
made it? You know Craig Sachs, right?
Yeah.
Craig, have you ever made it yourself? Because this is the problem, right? Like, yeah, you could get it at Trader Joe's. Every once in a while, you'll get a better version of it at a good restaurant. And I agree with Steve, though. When you put the time in, man, it's like
We just made it for the, what was it, the 4th of July?
yeah.
We made a huge bowl of it. It went away. It went in seconds. But yeah, so it's the parsley, but you have to pick all the stems off.
Yeah, the stems
Yeah.
make it
And then
world
it's
of difference.
finely chopped tomatoes, cucumbers, the bulgur wheat, a little bit of mint, and then you put in the spices and lemon juice, and it's fantastic.
Have you seen the hack for getting parsley off the stems?
Mm-mm.
You use a fork.
Yeah, we've tried
Apparently.
the fork method.
Is
It's
it not
okay.
entirely work?
It's not 100%.
Yeah, this is like kind
It's
of.
a good
oh,
cheesy
actually,
way to do it.
Oh,
this is
check
with
it out.
a whatever. It is.
Cheese
There's a
grater?
couple ways.
All right, now
Cheese grater.
just as
I think
a,
it's the big stems, yeah, but you still get the little stems.
Right.
as
you
a
gotta
point
get
of
those.
reference, though, you see the amount of parsley there. You need about
300
300
yeah.
times the
Yeah.
amount of parsley because
That's true.
by the time whenever leaves get wet, they shrivel and they some of the water comes out of them and they lose their mass. So like that's nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
They're
That's a fair
concerned
point.
with shriveling.
Hey, wait a minute. Stay tuned. All right, so maybe we'll get to some topics. Let's see.
All right.
Whose phone is going? That's Jay.
That's George.
We could do Olympics, but maybe we'll
Answer
do.
it. Let's talk to
Hold
George.
on,
Okay, we're gonna talk to George. Don't leak his phone number.
George. You're on the live stream with me and Steve and Ian.
Okay.
Is this something?
So
we
watch
can't-
it, George.
Is this something we can't
Watch
talk
it.
about on the live stream?
Well, the thing is that the itching hasn't gone away.
Oh.
I told you it wasn't me, George. Look, don't blame me every time something weird's going on
I'm not blaming
downstairs.
anybody. I just want some solution to this goddamn itch. It's crazy.
You need calamine lotion, and vinegar.
I've got calamine lotion. I'm swimming in calamine lotion. I have an ocean of calamine lotion.
Hey,
You want me to call you back when I'm done over here?
What are we talking about? What's the topic? What's
We were talking about
the Olympics.
we were talking about tabbouleh.
Oh, right.
Because we're Middle Eastern food, and it's
Yeah.
we're good.
Are you both fans of hummus?
Oh, we love
yeah.
hummus.
Hummus is the best, right?
You should rub that. That might help you down there.
Don't. Okay.
George, have you ever had
Let me try
homemade
that. Okay, I'll
hummus?
do that next. And then if it doesn't work,
George, have you ever had homemade hummus?
oh yeah, no, I've made it, and it's not nearly as great as like a good restaurant one, but it'll do when you have that need.
Oh, I've
to spread
made my hummus is
itch.
better than anything you'll have in a restaurant.
Real? Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
yes.
that's quite a claim.
George, Steve will give it to you better than you've ever had it.
All right. Okay.
The
Guys.
creaminess of Steve's hummus.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
George, I'll call you in like an hour. Is that okay?
Well, wait. I want to know what's so special about Steve's hummus. What
Well,
makes it
because
so
he
fantastic?
handpicks all of the stems,
That's
all
the
of the stems.
tabbouleh, Jay.
Oh, the hummus. Oh, Steve's hummus.
It's
picks the cheese.
it's all about getting the
chicks.
ratio of the tahini
Come on.
sauce and the chickpeas correct. You have to cook
Okay.
the chickpeas properly, and then of course it's how you got to put the right amount of cumin in there,
This
and a
is
little bit of
going
garlic
so-
and spices.
This is going so off the
Jay, has
rails.
Steve mentioned he's a super taster? Has
That's
he
true.
mentioned that yet?
He has.
He said that yet?
Steve
No,
can't.
on this live stream, no.
People want to know about your
I wanna make sure.
tzatziki.
I want to make sure.
I don't like tzatziki. My wife and both my daughters love tzatziki. It's too yogurty for me. I don't
Steve
like
can't eat things
Okay.
like fish. Steve can't eat things like
Yeah,
pimento
cilantro.
olives.
it. Yeah, olives.
Or
any
Kalamata?
any kind of
Pickled stuff.
pickled olives.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Okay. Well,
Well.
all right. We'll have a hummus cook-off.
Yeah.
We'll do that with the meatballs.
100%.
We'll do a hummus off.
Hummus.
hummus off. All right.
Hummus.
All right, boys. Talk
All
to you
right.
soon.
Peace, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, goodbye. Anyway,
Yes,
so
chickpeas are garbanzo
Garbanzo
beans.
I'll be
Same.
right back. It's too hot down here. I'm turning the air conditioner.
Lord. All right.
It's too damn hot.
All right. So we could talk about the brains. We
Yeah.
could talk about the Olympics. That's one's
Sure.
going to be a heavier one.
Olympics. Let's do
Okay.
Olympics.
We'll get hit right into the Olympics. So there's a couple things with the Olympics. And maybe I'll start it off since we're light. Maybe I'll start it off with the light one. Did you all see the pole vaulter?
No.
Okay. Jay, oh, it was on heat. Okay. Jay, come back for the pole vaulter.
I'm ready for the poll.
So the Olympics, notorious for just top tier athletes, the masters of their craft.
And always controversry free.
Everything is totally normal.
If it's a transgender pole vaulter, we got
Just
problems.
wait. Yeah. Okay. No,
Let's see what
but also
happens.
let's see what happens. So this is pole vaulter. Wait, hold on. No, French. He's from France. Anthony Amorati, although his last name seems like it should be Italian, but whatever.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
The thing about pole vaulting that I really respect the skills here
Sure.
because you have to fully commit
You have
to
to
Oh,
this.
100.
Yeah.
You can't be you can't be like, I don't know. I mean, you got to go in and be like, I trust everything. I trust
Yeah.
my skill. I trust the mat. I trust I trust the pole.
Right. Well, this is something that he can't trust anymore. So he is going to have trust issues after this.
Okay.
There he goes. Up, almost over, and whoops.
Oh boy.
So he vaulted his own.
Oh
pole in the
my
situation.
God.
So he's now okay. I'm gonna stop. So
Oh, that poor guy.
in a
I
way,
mean,
he won.
he's
but
famous.
Also,
He's famous, but not for the sport.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Unfortunately,
Now, Steve? You're a judge and you're watching this. I mean, what do
Yeah.
you do?
10,
Did he not clear the bar?
maybe 8.5.
Not, well, I don't know. So if you
You
cock
can't
block
touch
your own
the
jump,
bar. You
yeah.
can't touch the
can't
bar.
Can't touch the bar.
Yeah,
Technically,
I know.
he didn't make it over.
Yeah.
But
they
it's
say.
not his fault.
Well,
Do you know what I'm saying?
it's not his fault. He was born that way.
I-
So yeah,
Maybe
unfortunately,
it was a wardrobe malfunction.
it's something to that effect. Yeah, I guess he didn't.
Jesus
not enough
Christ.
tape, or something. So yeah, unfortunately, that was a funny one that happened this last week. I guess you can say. I mean, in a way, he won. But
Did
in a
they
way,
interview him afterwards?
I think
they had to.
so. There is a number that has come up: 250K. What do you think 250K has been offered to him to do?
Sell condoms. Be a condom.
No, or
host.
jock straps.
Jockstrap, very good. Almost somewhere with his membership. Porn, of course. He's been offered 250K to do
do a porno.
Do a
video.
porn.
Porn video. Of course, it's something like Pornhub or something like that. They always do something like this because they're goofy boys
Yeah.
and girls. So anyway, so that was maybe some lighthearted.
Did he win a medal? Did we know any?
We don't know actually. I think he got disqualified. He knocked it down. This was his
Like, don't
event.
you get multiple tries?
yeah. It's
I
like
think
best out of
this was the one, and he did have a previous attempt.
So this is it.
So this, I think, was it. Chat, check. Please, yeah, he didn't experience drinking. Let me know, everybody. You can kind of see it on his face too, which is so funny. Like, right? He's just,
Yeah, he. I think that he knew. Yeah. Oh my God.
Dead.
He knew. Holy shit! I just had.
I just went viral.
I just had a junk flop on the internet and
my
on the
God.
world. The
Somebody
world.
said this is the monkey paw curling. It's like you
Yeah.
got your wish, but also whoops.
Well,
So-
good for him, man. you
Yeah,
know?
good for him in a way. So, anyway, so now to the more controversy one, if you want to go into that. Okay.
Somebody said he
How
was
do I-
disqualified after
He was
that.
disqualified.
Yeah. See?
Iman
here we
or
go.
Imani Khalif. So this was basically a manufactured. God dang it! Hold
This
on.
was a
Manufactured controversy. They were the right wing, of course. Who's notoriously up to date with the science and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Did some transvestigating, which is a popular term where they claim a person who is not trans is trans, based on like features or the fact that something happened that they are not fond of. I'm trying to like escape this ad block, and let me just try to kill it because whatever. Anyway, so this woman, Amani Khalif, who previously, according to a Russian board, failed a gender test. However, the Olympics no longer recognizes that board.
Well, yeah, they don't recognize the board. The board never disclosed what the test
What-
was.
exactly.
They said it's controversial.
Right.
And the board, they don't recognize the board because it was rife with corruption.
Exactly.
It's like not a reliable source. But the thing is, we don't know what the actual facts are because nothing has been disclosed.
Correct.
There's just a lot of speculation.
Mm-hmm.
The two most common speculations I see, and they're not mutually exclusive. So one is that it's just all absolutely nothing.
Right.
Right.
Nothing.
The other is that this is a woman with XY chromosome and who has androgen insensitivity.
Right.
The other one was that her testosterone was too high, which again could go along with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so what happens in some cases is people, they're basically XY.
Wait, but explain it, because this is
Yeah.
difficult for a lot of
I'm
people.
explaining it.
So
I'm
what's
in
the
process
difference?
of
What's
doing
the
that
difference
right now.
when a man is what and a woman is what?
Man is XY,
here's the-
woman is XX.
there's the question
XX. So
on the
if
internet.
she's XY,
Yes.
you just said that that's a man.
But that's typical
But
as well.
so, but there are some women who are XY,
Mhm.
right? Which means that they make, they have testes and sperm,
Yeah, inside.
but their testes don't descend.
Yep.
And
they have a vagina,
They
though.
make testosterone.
Yep.
Now, normally that would produce the typical male line of development, but they have androgen insensitivity. Their receptors don't respond to the testosterone, so they develop along the female line.
Yes.
So everything else is typically female, and they're usually identified female at birth.
Mhm.
They're raised female. They think they're female. They have a typical female gender identity.
Can they have
everything.
children?
No, because they have
Okay.
undescended testes. They don't have ovaries.
No, let me ask the
And,
hard
and
question
some of them
here.
live their life thinking they're a woman, and I have no idea there's
Yeah,
anything
assigned
different
female
about
at birth
them.
is
They're
certainly-
assigned female at birth, and and sometimes they never find out. Sometimes they find out only because they can't have kids, and they go to a doctor. I can't have kids. And they say,
Do they
"Well, that's 'cause
typically
you
have more
XY."
male characteristics, though? I mean,
No.
so there's virtually nothing different between
So-
them.
It's like a spectrum.
The thing is, there is complete androgen insensitivity, and then there's partial androgen insensitivity. So if you have complete androgen insensitivity, you're basically a woman, right? Except with an XY chromosome and undescended testes. But otherwise, you develop completely typically female. There may be some subtle differences because you don't have the estrogen that women have. But then if you have partial insensitivity, it's a continuum. It's the entire continuum. And so, there is no, you could be anywhere from 100% typically female to 100% typically male. And then everything in between. right?
Okay, and that would mean too that there would be a spectrum of differences between their sexual organs, right?
Yeah, everything, including like ambiguous genitalia, like everything in between. And there's other conditions that can produce that as well, like adrenal hyperplasia, where you have basically genetic mutations in the adrenal glands in terms of which results in the formation of testosterone-like hormones, which then can masculinize an XX female, right? So the in this case, if she is an XY female, she meets the definition for female for the Olympics. She was identified female at birth. She lived her whole life as a female. She's competed her whole life as a female. She's a female, right?
And competed and lost, and there was never.
And she's been, she's lost plenty of times.
And there's no controversy
And
there.
there's no apparent advantage,
Right.
to being an XY female over an XX female, So that's why this is a completely manufactured controversy. But it does raise the point that biological sex is complicated. It's not strictly binary. There's all kinds of variants, and if you're going to have a binary system like the Olympics, where it's male and female, you have to deal with cases like this. There are fringe cases you got to deal with.
This guy said,
Yeah, I know,
again,
Decker.
XY is a man. Don't complain about the right, the quote unquote right. Stop pushing your BS too.
It's
What does
like-
that mean? What are you saying? So
Yeah.
you're saying that everyone who's XY is a man, period, full stop, no exceptions,
Right.
even if
They're
you are,
similar.
even if you have a vagina and breasts, all female sexual secondary characteristics, everything else about you, you have a uterus, everything else is completely female. You're a man if you're XY.
But
so XY female should go to men's bathrooms, even though they look for all the world like a female. Most of them, again, don't even know they're XY.
Right. You'd have to get blood work done, right? Essentially.
You have to get a blood test.
This is a perfect example. Like, this is exactly what the right does.
So
this sentiment, and
oversimplify.
this oversimplification, because it's apparently too complicated for them to understand and comprehend the nuances here.
they don't want to. It's a manufactured culture war. This is what they're. This
Yeah.
is the BS that they're slinging.
All right, let's add more details here, because he said, ask the Italian girl who quit after
Yeah,
one punch.
first off, she apologized, so obviously you're not up to date.
Yeah. So first of all,
She cried about it,
She was overwhelmed in the moment because she realized that her Olympic dream had just just evaporated instantly, right? Her opponent outclassed her, hit her harder, she said, than she's ever been hit before. But that's what happens when you go to the Olympics and you encounter world-class, competition. And that was it. She wasn't protesting. She didn't think there was anything unfair or whatever. She later apologized, and she's told, she has no issues with this whatsoever. This is a non, this is not a genuine controversy.
And the
here.
female boxer who they're claiming is a man lost 4 or 5 matches to women, to other women previously. Like, this isn't like someone that is dominating the field in some profound way.
Yeah.
And
she was overwhelmed by guilt from the PC crowd. No, she realized she was being a baby, like the woman who got punched in the face. Like, she was just upset.
She just explained herself.
but
She said, I was upset because I lost.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what
anybody would be upset.
What that athlete
She
thinks.
apologized for not shaking her hand.
Right.
For dissing her. That's what she apologized for.
I think it's irrelevant. I don't care what that Italian boxer did. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that there are people out there who absolutely will not allow themselves to sink into the thought that there is a massive amount of complexity with biology between men and women, and we have 2 sexes that are easy to identify, and we have a spectrum in between, which most people are just learning now for the first time, exist. These people exist. It's not clean. It's messy, and Decker, what's his name, Decker, like, don't be arrogant. Listen to what the medical doctor is saying.
Right. It's almost like high school.
Try to understand it. Yeah, like
high
let
school
it
biology
sink in.
didn't
It's
teach
not.
you everything.
It's complicated, man. It's complicated. It's not what we thought back in the 70s. That's not the world.
Well,
The
not
world
what you thought. But
Right.
doctors knew this
doctors knew,
always.
yeah, but the
Was
regular people,
yeah,
street people like
regular
me,
people.
didn't know. People that don't have a medical education don't know. And let's
So
face it,
I'm not even sure what Stan is trying to say here. Yes, you idiot. XY is a male, and males don't have uterus and vagina. But I'm just not curious. But the thing is, you can't say XY is a male. You can't equate that because maleness is about a lot more than your chromosomes, right? Isn't like having a dick also a feature of being male? But if you're XY and you have a vagina, which these people exist, this is a fact. You can't say there's no human being in the world who is XY. You can't say that they don't exist. There are people who are XY and have vaginas.
But
That's the whole point.
Don't they usually
What
write
do
it
you-
off?
What are
Yeah.
they? Are
Right.
they men or are they women? Well, they're kind of both, but they're mostly women, right?
The world recognizes them.
this is what I don't get. I don't understand. Like, you're listening to a professional talk. Like, do you not have the humility to go, okay, I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. Let me listen to somebody who actually knows.
Well, just whatever. These are the facts. You can look them up. I'm not telling you to trust me. These are the facts.
Good.
There are
I mean, look-
people who are XY who are otherwise female.
Decker
Because-
came around. He said it's complicated, and he feels for those folks. That's great, man, and I'm glad to hear you say that because when this first came out, I don't remember, was it 2 years ago? I don't remember how long ago it was. I was wrong. My gut was wrong. My intuition about all of these issues was wrong. And then I had to listen to the experts. I had to read a lot. I had to educate myself. Steve, you had to be literally like, Jay, you're wrong. You can't say that because that is actually biologically incorrect. I was wrong. It's perfectly okay to realize that your position and whatever's rattling around in your brain isn't the correct information. But to not literally go, okay, I'm not an expert. I'm going to listen to an expert, and I'm going to let my mind be changed. Like, why would anybody think that every piece of information in their mind is correct? To lack that much humility is astounding to me. It blows my mind. And I think you better rethink your position because there's lots of things in your head that's wrong. It's perfectly okay for it to be
We're
wrong.
all wrong about most things.
But it's not okay to hear an expert talk and not change your position because at that point you're done.
Well, at the very least, investigate it a little bit rather than believing something that is, again, demonstrably wrong. It's demonstrably wrong. Yeah. You cannot boil down male and female to chromosomes because biological sex is far more complicated than that. It is an entire chain of developmental events, and they don't always go exactly in one direction or the other.
Somebody said all doctors don't even agree, though.
On what?
Yeah, but the majority.
On what you just said? I don't know.
On what? Nothing I said is controversial at any level.
What also about like Olympics just being, it's not necessarily a quote unquote fair competition anyway. It's like you might be born, like Michael Phelps has massive arm span, right? Should we not allow him to compete because he was born with this incredible gift that he can maybe have higher lung capacity?
Yeah.
And also, I think there's like statistically like a history of racism toggled at like black women saying, "Oh, you're too masculine, you can't compete." You know, there's a history of like, "Oh, you have too much testosterone" or something like that.
You know, guys, it's the thing is, this idea of humility. I know it just sounds like we're kicking the same can down the same road again, but it's an important concept to understand. There are so many things in the world that we don't know. We're doing a bit. We're coming up with this bit for the extravaganza that we're doing in a week and a half. And George asked us, come up with a couple of things that you think you're an expert on. And I'm sitting there. I'm talking to Bob. I'm talking to Evan. I'm talking to Kara. You know, Steve's got expertise. Kara's got expertise. But to come up with two things that you feel like you can answer.
This is a low bar. This was just like you know slightly more than the
yes,
average
but
person.
I'm using it as an example. I
you.
sat there and I'm like, what the hell am I an expert in? I don't know. I was a little like upset, and then I'm like, what am I upset about? Like, to become an expert in something, to really be able to speak with authority and understanding and having the depth of knowledge that it takes to really get there, you have to commit like 10 years of your life to get to those hurdles. And it's okay not to be an expert. And to think that you think you know the answers to most things, it's profoundly wrong, and it's really not a good way to live your life.
Got two answers right there, Jay. Meatballs and Han Solo.
That's true. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, and you're right, No, but I thought about that, but meatballs, like, it's not the right thing. Anyway, I don't want to dilute what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, but jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, but we're
better than master of one. Right?
A lot of us are very average in our knowledge and understanding. So when
it is hard to become an expert in even one thing, and of course, expertise is a continuum. It's a vast spectrum as well.
Of course, it is.
You know, again, there's like, maybe you know a little bit more than the average person, or you have sort of a moderate amount of knowledge about it, and then there's increasing levels from there. You know, all the way up to a world expert, a world recognized, like one of the top 5-10 people in the world on something.
Yeah.
And so obviously very, very few people would achieve that in any topic. There's a like professionalism level, like you could be licensed in that thing if that such a thing existed. Like you have demonstrated a very high, formal degree of knowledge about it. Again, most people don't even have that. But and most people who do have that have it in one thing. Their job or their primary hobby or whatever. And then other than that, you might have things that you're interested in, and you might have, again, above average knowledge in it, but even that, there's a vast amount of knowledge beyond what any of us have, in most things.
Yeah.
So...
but I like to talk about this idea.
That's the humility that's absolutely critical
exactly.
to critical thinking and skepticism.
I think though there's a lot of people and I don't think we teach this in schools well and everything, but there's a lot of people out there that really don't like to admit that they're wrong. They can't do it, and they can't do it freely. There's like an emotional attachment to it. Like it really is damaging to them on some level. And there's people that really do think that the knowledge that they have in their head is the knowledge. And as a skeptic, I know that I trained myself, and I've been doing this for like about 25 to 30 years at this point. But like, I get excited when I find something that's wrong in my head and I get to find out what the truth is. I like that. I actually enjoy the feeling of being, oh, wow, okay, that's wrong. All right, what is the real answer here?
That's a learning opportunity.
That's a learning opportunity. Yeah. It's like I get to take one more step up that series of steps that you do in life in order to really understand how things are. And I'll tell you the thing that I learned about my process of becoming a skeptic is just how unbelievably complicated everything is.
Everything is more complicated than you think.
You talk to people about what's going on. You talk to people about what's going on with the U.S. government today. I promise I won't go too cheap on this. But there's a lot of people I know that I went to high school with, and we're talking about. They don't even have a base understanding of how the government runs. And they're like, and you're making that up. That's fake news. I'm like, dude, you go back to the 70s and look at the process and how they. How bills are created and the approval process and how they happen. I'm not making this up. That's the way they do it. That's the way they've always done it. But, anything that opposes somebody's baseline concept of who they are all of a sudden is fake news and it's bullshit. It's like, no, the world is super complicated. We know very little. You know what we know how to do? We know how to eat. We know how to sleep. We know how to brush our teeth. You know, we got all that down. We got all that down. But when you're talking about the complexity of biology, men and women and chromosomes and shit, I bet you 99% of the people watching this don't even know what a chromosome is. That's fine that you don't. It's fine that you don't. But here's someone that does, you know? Like, let's listen to people like Steve who dedicated their life to understand this stuff. I don't get it, Steve. Why do people dig their heels in so deep?
People have a desire for simplicity, so they pretend the world is simpler than it is.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel empowered, and it's just arrogance. You have to learn humility.
Yep.
It is also partly Dunning-Kruger in that the less you know, there's an interesting Dunning-Kruger curve about the relationship between how much you know about a topic and how much you think you don't know about that topic.
We did
right?
a TikTok video also.
Yeah,
if
the
anybody
amount
wants
of
to see
knowledge that you think exists in that topic, and there's this. It sort of peaks initially, which was called Mount Stupid, right? Which is, you have a very little knowledge, and you think that little bit that you know is all. It's a different curve than that one.
Oh.
That's the overestimation of your own knowledge, but this is about how much knowledge is there. Mm-hmm. It's a different graph. So there's that peak where you think, that's it. There's a Mount Stupid, then it drops. As you learn more, you realize, there's a lot more going on that I didn't know, and then you slowly increase your actual knowledge.
But as you go through your life and reading and opening your mind to different cultures and concepts and philosophies, and learning about critical thinking was a huge educator for me. You get to the point where you do start to see, like, okay, there's just so much knowledge out there. There's so much. And you can't walk around with like this chip on your shoulder like you really got it all figured out, because you don't. Yeah, like I said, you figured out how to brush your teeth. But like, be humble to the fact that there are people who have dedicated their lives to different circles of science, and they're complicated. And a very important thing is, like, there is no horizontal genius here. Mm-hmm. Einstein was a genius, and he was really good with a couple of things. But if you asked him about biology, I bet you that he had maybe an above average understanding because he was an intelligent guy, but he didn't have, this unbelievable depth of knowledge about it. Why would he?
There's the Nobel laureate phenomenon.
Exactly.
We talk about all the time where, I'm not saying it's disproportionate, but it's just there are lots of examples of Nobel laureates who then went on to promote absolute quackery, in some other field.
Yeah.
Because they think, well, I'm an expert. Therefore, I must be. Everything I say about anything is interesting.
Nobelitis.
Look at what James Randi did back in the '70s with those two scientists. He had a Banachek was one of the kids that he trained to do simple magic tricks, like really simple stuff. Like you take a matchbook box. Remember those boxes that the tray slides out and matches are in there? And if you close the lid on your skin,
if you tighten your skin,
it would actually make the thing.
Yeah, it's a good parlor trick.
It's a good parlor trick, but these physicists got fooled. They're psychologists. I'm sorry, these psychologists got fooled by this and were believing in magic because of these parlor tricks. Mm-hmm. And they were very intelligent guys.
They were scientists.
But
we all have areas of vulnerability, blind spots, whatever. Again, we all have biases in our perspective on reality. You can't be an expert in everything, and the other thing that I try to get people to understand is that is how deep expertise really is. You could find almost any topic, and there is so much information on that topic.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, here's a huge tome about this super narrow topic. Or if you've talked to an actual expert, who is good at explaining what they know, or if you yourself are an expert in one area, you begin to realize how freaking complicated and deep, again, that knowledge base gets, and it gives you an appreciation for how little you know about everything else, right?
Yeah.
That's where you should go with that. I always invite people to, what are you the most expert on? Like, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be your job. Could be anything. And then think about what the average person knows about your area of expertise, and how your area of expertise is often portrayed in the popular media and in the press and in movies and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like what Eve
That's
said
you
here.
on everything else, right? That's you on everything that you're not an expert in. You're as stupid as you think everyone else is about the thing you are an expert in.
Yeah.
It's a good visualization here, right? Eve said that she learned doing her PhD. She said, "I'm not that she's an expert in one drop in a vast ocean of stuff yet to be known, too." Right? Like there's also the future things that we
Yeah.
haven't figured out yet. So anyway, we beat this horse pretty much bloody. But the point is, I appreciate people coming on here. They don't know who we are, or they don't agree with what we're saying, or whatever. But we've been doing this a long time. We're sitting here with a medical doctor. I don't want to say that Steve's always right, because he's not, but he's right a hell of a lot more than me when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And it's not, and Steve didn't make this up. Steve's regurgitating research that other scientists have done for decades. So just think about your
everything I
humility.
said about the the androgen insensitivity syndrome. This is not a disputed fact. These are facts.
Right.
This is not like an opinion. This is not an analysis. These are just basic biological facts. It's not disputed, not controversial.
If anything, it just means we need more science into trans healthcare, right? Like more research into it. I guess the only other links I had was some, politicians and J.K. Rowling saying dumb things on the internet, which we can get. This is also Imani when she lost 2020.
Can we see it? I'd like to see that real quick.
It's really full screen.
Of Ireland in the red
She's in the blue.
She's in the blue. Ireland. Erin Gobrach, to my Irish brethren. She wins. So, no controversy, obviously, because she lost. So, classic,
All right, that's
rage
good.
baiting.
So it's
Anyway.
an interesting microcosm, this thing right here with the boxers, right? You watch what happened. Okay, so there is a complexity to the situation here. It gets online. People were 100% wrong. They're making posts. People are outraged, all this shit. And then people started to post on those posts saying, this is not right. This information is incorrect and everything. And I'm just watching people doubling and tripling down. It's like, I put my flag in the sand and I can't be moved. It cannot be moved. That's so dangerous.
Yeah.
And that type of thinking leads us to where we are today in the United States.
Yeah. So it's not only just humble. It seems like kindness should go along with being humble if you can try to reduce harm. Anyway, what else do we have? Well, I already did the pole vaulter. Here's a little AI thing that I found that I thought was kind of funny.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a
I saw
dogfish.
this. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I was like, wait, do dogfish really look like that? And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm stupid. It's AI. Oh, my gosh, look at this little corky one.
Oh, my God.
Imagine if that existed, though. How cute.
Dogs have such kind faces, you know?
They were bred with beautiful Irish skulls. Okay, Keith, banned.
That's pretty cool.
Banned. That was a pretty cool one.
You will not ban Keith under no circumstances.
So here's a fun one that somebody tagged us and said, this is what Joe Rogan's brain does when he's not on the podcast, just like what's always bouncing back and forth in his head.
How many silverback gorillas do you think it would take to bring down a full-grown, biggest of the big male grizzly bear? I think a lot of people are going to say, one. I've seen videos where people were arguing one silverback versus a grizzly bear.
That's a negative.
And there's no way.
No way.
Yeah.
In my estimation, you're gonna need 3
minimum.
What is that based on?
I mean, it's possible that 3 silverback gorillas combined don't weigh as much as one grizzly bear.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially the
Oh
biggest
my
of the
God.
big. Man, I've got 5.
I'm gonna go with 3.
Are
Yeah,
you?
these guys
You think
are so dialed
These guys
in.
are
man.
so dialed in. I love them. I don't know.
I mean, look, it's a fun thing to talk about.
That's a fun
Totally.
question.
It's an
Well,
interesting
what do you guys
thing to turn
think?
around. I mean, I would.
One grizzly bear versus how many silverbacks?
I don't think a silverback. I don't think any silverback that exists could take more than one hit from a grizzly bear. A grizzly bear could lay their body wide open with one swipe. So, I mean, Steve, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go
They're pretty
with
quick,
7.
though.
I'm going to go with 7. It's 7. I mean, it's got to be 7.
But can they communicate to it? Can they circle the grizzly?
I don't know. I mean, I
fun.
don't know how the silverbacks would fight. I mean, would they
what would they? Because
would they outmaneuver the
they
grizzly?
couldn't punch it hard enough to hurt it.
I don't know about that. They're freaking strong.
Yeah, but Steve, the grizzly
They
bear
are
is so.
strong.
Here we go. Now this is our
Now, see,
podcast.
we're literally
Now,
doing it.
But the
Literally
grizzly
doing
bears are huge, huge. You could if
Let's get a size comparison. Hold
Yeah,
on.
let's see if we could find that.
Grizzly.
I just don't think it would be like shooting it with a bottle rocket. You know what I mean? Like it's just not going to penetrate.
I don't know.
Steve, you need a certain caliber of gun just to get into their
Oh yeah,
body.
I know. I hear you.
So yeah, they're super strong, but like first of all, they don't know kung fu. There's no like formal guerrilla fighting method. You know what
That
I
you
mean?
know of.
Oh my god,
That's true.
Look
Okay.
at the size difference.
Gorilla
apparently.
food?
I don't know if this is to scale,
We
but
can't
this
see
is
it.
suggesting
Let me see.
the size difference. Where did it go? I just had it. I mean, this is like there's close-ups. Dang it, I just had it. Hold on, let me find it. Yeah, here it is. The green one. So if you look at, that's
Yeah.
them standing on the.
Yeah,
it's,
see?
it's like 2 times the size of a standing up silverback.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, the hide is very thick. So like, even though the teeth of a silverback are probably
Yeah, you could bite 'em.
long, you could bite it. I don't know. Can you get through enough?
I
to
just don't
damage
know.
it?
I don't know, man. It's you know what? It would be an interesting thing to see, but I'd hate to see one of the animals. There would be a lot of mauling.
It'd have to be, yeah. It'd have to be
I
a
don't wanna see
zoo
that.
like a zoo must have
Yeah.
like overflowed because they're not obviously in the same habitats unless a land bridge opens up between.
Yeah, somebody asked an even more interesting question. How many Joe Rogans would you need to take on one grizzly
Oh
bear?
my god, that's true. There's not enough, Joe Rogan.
Oh, bro Rogan.
If you have time while you're in Chicago, you might want to check out the International Museum of Surgical Science. It's pretty interesting. That would be cool. I don't know what our time schedule is.
We're pretty tight.
It's pretty tight, especially with all the eating. But also, thank you for the
Yeah.
super chat. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, so that's a fun,
It's fun to think about.
Fun.
Man. It really is. It's challenging.
the things that are just bouncing around in Joe Rogan's head.
I wonder how much crazy shit like that happened in the Coliseum back in the gladiator
Oh,
days.
sure.
They did some unbelievable shit in there.
Didn't they
Steve.
have elephants fighting things like they've done?
They could fill it. They could fill it
Yeah.
up
I
and
think
have
they only
boat
did that
battles.
once. I think they only did that once.
What, filled it with water?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that they did that all the time.
No.
Oh my God, I had a bad piece of information in my head.
They did it. Was we were in Italy last year and we got the whole tour, but they did it and then they did it that one time, and then after that, that's when they built the underground tunnels and they couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
All of the place, all of the rooms and everything underneath the main arena.
Talking about a Dodge truck hitting a black bear, I saw a guy test the Cybertruck.
I know the exact
Ian,
video.
wow.
Whistling diesel.
Wow,
Let me
Ian,
get
right?
it. It's great.
Cybertruck to a Ford F-150.
Yeah.
And this is a good thing to watch. It's very illuminating to, first of all the hype behind the Cybertruck. And I'm telling you, man, after watching the series of videos, like the Cybertruck seems like it's a complete piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I mean, I will say there's some things to it with like pickup, in terms of instant acceleration.
Oh, it's super fast.
Yeah, you can't. Nothing beats electric. Sorry.
This
gas.
guy's video was awesome.
Whistling
Our
Diesel
Cybertruck-
is hilarious. He's a funny guy. So he like puts it through the ringer and he's just beating the hell out of it. But so he's doing a couple things. Let me just get to some of the stuff.
Like when he did a test on the rearview mirrors.
Oh yeah.
Like he put his full weight on the F-150's mirror. He kicked it. He did all these things. Couldn't break it. The Cybertruck, it goes over and he just rips it right off.
Yeah.
Rearview mirror had no. He tried to tow the F-150 with the Cybertruck.
Something's wrong. The truck is almost on the ground. Oh, it's this
Yeah,
side
so like
too.
there's
The
an
system
air
broke.
suspension system that commonly like deflates because
Yeah.
it's supposed to make the ride smoother, and it's not really made to
Alright,
do
we're
kind of
scared.
this like crazy stuff. So here's the actual
Yeah, watch this.
point. Bam.
Did something just break off?
I think we broke the
Is
grill
rear
off.
bumper up. The rear bumper. Look at the Cybertruck.
So apparently it's not like a solid frame. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And like the Ford F-150, 350, whatever, is a solid frame. So a lot of people who are saying like it's made to break off because of impacts, a lot of yada yada yada. But if it's a truck, it should do truck things, presumably.
Yeah, and there was a few things that I didn't like. Like he slammed his foot on the accelerator pedals in both of them. And
Oh, yeah,
the
and it broke
Cybertruck's
off.
pedal was plastic.
Yeah.
And it broke off very quickly. And then he was accelerating the truck with a screwdriver, apparently. And then if you stop on a side view of the car, Ian, if you could just show the side view. All right there, right? Do you see that strip of silver that's going above the mirrors, above the driver door, and down the side?
Yeah.
That's trim. That's not part of the frame. That is just a piece of metal that is glued on there. And he said he ripped it off with 3 fingers, like it just came right off
Yeah,
the
he
car.
pulled it off. I mean, it's bonded. There's probably epoxy, so it's like you can do that to cars, but it does give the false impression that it's like is solid aluminum.
I mean, look,
this is pretty
To me,
interesting.
none of it matters.
Oh,
'cause
yeah,
the
this
truck
was
is so
cool.
ugly. Who would ever buy it?
That of course is like the big thing. So he's putting
Try it on a
C4
real truck. Because that should be able to
on
handle
the
it,
back
right?
of the F-150.
That didn't look good at all. Parts went everywhere.
So let's see. I think they did it earlier.
The
with
tailgate
Apparently
is
that's aluminum, right?
Yes. So this one though, it's steel.
Yeah.
So if you're in a scenario where somebody's going to strap C4 to the back of you,
Yeah, steel's
you're
way
fine.
stronger than aluminum.
you're okay.
Without a doubt.
It's smoking.
So this is a funny channel, Whistling Diesels. Shout out them.
Yeah, he's
They're-
good.
I mean, they're goofy, obviously. They're
It's
goofy
funny.
country
It's
boys,
funny, but
you
he's
know,
doing
what are
some
you gonna
real.
do?
I mean, the testing you're seeing it. Like
Yeah.
you can't deny it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does seem like it's a little bit shoddy for the things you want it to be good at as a drug. Obviously the C4 is just silly BS.
Yeah, watch it
Zing!
for fun. Watch it for fun. Cybertrucks are pieces of shit. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, unfortunately. So we have a couple other videos. Like, do you want to talk about what is this freaking one?
Stimulate.
Humming produces nitrous oxide in your nitric oxide in
Yeah,
your
let's
body.
listen to it. It's crazy.
Let's see.
Humming create nitric oxide in the body.
It absolutely can. What they discovered is that humming increases that NO production by 15-fold.
Not 15%.
15
mechanism?
times.
Now, 15 times 0 is a lot, right? It seems to
Yeah,
be
right. Yeah, you go.
more than 0 times 0.
I don't believe this. When I come to Stockholm, I want you to demonstrate that in front of me. And they did. They have devices that measure nitric oxide production in your nasal cavity, all kinds of sophisticated instrumentation. Did it with no humming. They did it with a little bit of humming. They did it with lots of humming. And sure enough, the more you hummed, the more nitric oxide you produce. And it went up to 20 times.
Define humming. Does it need to be in a certain tone for a certain duration?
Closing your mouth. Okay, I'm going to do it sort of on the air. And so when you make that humming sound,
that what it sounds
you
like?
are exhaling through your nose, right? But you're creating tremendous vibrations. It's
What?
the vibration that stimulates these special mucosal cells to make more nitric oxide.
So what's happening here, Steve?
I have no idea.
So it's just
I haven't seen this.
What is
before.
nitric oxide?
It's just. It's just a chemical, but it. There's a lot of research about the effects of nitrous oxide on like your bacteria and whatnot, and it's like anything in the body. It's part of the complex dynamic homeostatic systems. The idea that, first of all, I don't know if humming actually increases the production of nitrous oxide or just your measurement of it, or if the whole thing is even valid or not. And if it did, what's the clinical effect of that? I suspect it's probably non-existent.
apparently it can fractional exhaled nitric oxide test, which can help diagnose and manage asthma. Apparently, so there might be that's American Lung Association suggests that might be a thing that they do.
Right, but what does that mean though? So,
right,
but
exactly. Creating
if you're measuring more
does it-
nitrous oxide, that you just measuring more, or are you actually
Right.
producing more? And if you are producing more, so what?
Yeah.
Why would you think that would do anything?
So you do
to
breathe.
your health?
Yeah, you do create nitric oxide naturally, and you
Yeah.
exhale it. But
Right.
why do you want more of it? Seems to be. I mean, I wonder if this is like getting into the pseudoscience of sports science sometimes.
Well,
where
just
they're
there's
like,
a lot of this crap where it's like they're hitting upon some kind of subtle basic science phenomenon, and then they leap ahead like 10 steps and make some kind of clinical claim about it. Like, therefore, you'll live longer, and it's just nonsense, though. You know what I mean? Because you can't do that kind of extrapolation. Again, the body's complicated, and there's lots of things that are happening. And just about any time you do something to the body, it alters stuff that the body's doing. But that doesn't mean that there's any net clinical effect from that. It's just all noise. It's just all background noise.
So now
but this is like the vast majority of the supplement industry.
Right.
Yeah, and this is the type of information, like, it's not, if you don't understand enough to like be super skeptical of stuff like this. It sinks in. You hear it and it goes in, and you might believe it and regurgitate it.
Yeah.
You got to question videos like this, you know.
Yeah, I was going to mention, nitric oxide is NO, and nitrous oxide is N2O, which is a laughing gas. Apparently, also
This is nitric oxide.
Oxide, yeah, and apparently both of them can irritate the skin, eyes, respiratory tract, and mucous membranes, and exposure by any route can have systemic effects. Inhalation of pure nitrogen oxides can be fatal. So it seems like a bad thing. So don't It seems like they're, I don't know. It's weird.
You don't want to inhale pure anything other than oxygen.
Yeah. Even still, not even pure oxygen, right?
Well, that's not good for you either, but at least you could survive on it.
That's true.
Yeah,
well, nitrogen's okay. It just it'll
it's
kill you.
But not nitrogen oxide.
No,
not nitric oxide.
Yeah. NO means no.
But if you inhaled pure nitrogen, you would also die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or pure helium too long, you'd probably that would pass out. Okay, so that's TikTok. 189,000 likes. So they're selling something to somebody. Somebody's getting the message, I guess.
A lot of TikTok is, look at this study. I have no idea what it actually says, but I'm going to pretend I do.
Yeah.
Totally. That was the parsley stem hack. Okay, so this is an old one that you were saying. What happens when you put butter in coffee?
7 different things.
So this is Dave Asprey or whatever.
Things that happen inside your body when you blend butter into your coffee. One of them is it changes how caffeine is absorbed.
Fatter.
The one that's most impressive, though, we didn't know when I started doing it. I funded research at the University of Washington that proved this. When you put droplets of butter in water and then you heat it up, it changes the structure of the water to match the structure of water inside your cells, which is necessary in order to make energy. The Tibetans figured out there's no
whenever
food
you hear
there.
that structure of water, that's a huge bullshit red flag.
Mm-hmm.
This is the bulletproof diet. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Or bulletproof
Right.
coffee from years ago.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, nothing ever came
Asprey.
of it. 'cause it's
He's
nonsense.
like also a low carb, high fat diet kind of dude. Whatever. It's like that is the bulletproof diet. Never mind. Yeah, it's the. He has made claims criticized by dietitians as pseudoscientific.
Yeah.
It's like,
Changes the structure of water.
Yeah, I don't even know what does that
Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything.
Water molecules, the H2O, do have there are lots of ways in which they can interact with each other, right? And you could consider that to be sort of the so-called structure of the water. The problem is that's changing nanosecond to nanosecond.
Right.
It's very dynamic. It's not there's no consistency to that relationship. So, the whole structured water thing is like a whole class of pseudoscience.
Yeah.
But it matches the water in your cells, Steve.
Therefore, what? And therefore, what? Even if that were true, which it isn't, which is nonsense, and therefore, so what?
Yeah, and then he throws in this like ancient history, wisdom kind of thing in here. So let's just say that.
There's no food there. They're just drinking yak butter tea and a little bit of barley flour. They're twice as strong as me. How's this possible? Well, when we drink water now, our body heats it up and holds the water against our cells, which are made of fat, and then that converts the water. They're converting it in a blender. When you use that idea of butter in coffee, it's the same thing that plants use.
Incoherent.
Yeah, it's just, I think he was talking about Mongolia. Was that what it was?
Structure of the water.
I could make up more interesting technobabble on the fly than what this guy is spouting
the
here.
Tibetans, never mind.
It's not even interesting. It doesn't even sound provocative. It just sounds like he's really, dumb.
Why are these guys twice as strong as you? Because they're
they work
not
their
a pampered American.
Yeah, because they actually have to lift things.
Because they work for a living. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, maybe hit the gym more. Stop drinking so much butter coffee. Anyway, yeah. So another thing, 35,000 likes.
My question here is: this is what you always got to do. You look at this guy and you go, "What are you selling, bub?
Yeah.
What are you trying? What are you trying to get the people to buy with all this bullshit?"
Right. Yeah, he is like a quote-unquote entrepreneur. Maybe selling those really cool glasses that he's got.
Right.
Which is like
Bono wannabe,
it's like spot you from a mile away. So there's one about Japan and finding the cause of autism.
The cause of autism?
Yes, there is a single cause of autism.
So this is,
autism spectrum disorder?
Yeah, this is going down that rabbit hole.
This is another, I saw a study I don't understand, I'm going to talk about it.
Right, exactly. So let's see that.
Research may have found the cause of autism.
He did say may. So
research coming out of Fukui, Japan. Don't try to say that in public.
Okay.
It will get you some strange looks. Research at a Japanese university have said they discovered a significant link between metabolites found in the umbilical cord and the symptoms of autism spectrum disorder. And it goes on to explain certain levels of fatty acid found in the umbilical cord was thought to be playing a role. Now, in case you don't know why it's relevant to be studying this, at this point in time, 1 in 36 kids is diagnosed.
Before we get to that, so is that umbilical thing, is that going to be part of the whole delayed clamping phenomenon or whatever?
So it's almost certainly just a marker, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, there are over 100 genes more that have been implicated in autism. You know, again, it's basically a genetic condition. And again, it's also a very broad spectrum. You know, from just slightly neuroatypical to, more dramatic symptoms. So it's almost certainly not one thing. It's a complex, collection of related neurological conditions. Most of the stuff that's, it's developmental, right? And most of the development has already happened by the time you're born. So you're almost certainly born with autism. But if they're finding markers in the umbilical cord, that probably relates to some of the genetics of autism. And it might be useful diagnostically, but this is not like we found the cause and now we can treat it or anything. That's not what this is all about. This is just about sort of understanding what those genes are doing and maybe developing some kind of a test that could indicate the risk of developing autism as one ages. I don't know, but
and the last place I want to get my science news is from this guy. You know what I mean? It's like you look at it.
Yeah.
Like,
even just
okay.
saying the cause. So first of all, he's clearly just reading a secondary source, right?
Yeah.
Always a red flag. You can't rely on secondary sources. He's now a tertiary source. So because you're reading someone else's non-expert interpretation of research they don't understand, and then you're further interpreting it, as opposed to going to the original study. And if you can't go to the original study, you probably shouldn't be talking about it.
Probably,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you should be talking to somebody who can read the original study and tell you what it actually means and put it into context, which that's the other thing, is that there's no context here because this person doesn't understand autism or neuroscience at a fundamental level. They can't put any of this into any kind of meaningful context.
Yep.
So of course it's completely missing that.
Let's see if there's anything more to this.
With autism. Now, those are not all high support needs, and some people are able to live very fulfilling lives. However, there are also a number of individuals who are so profoundly impacted by autism that they have to remain with parents and caregivers for the entirety of their life because they are never able to develop independence. Okay, so in this study, they looked at 200 children, which, don't get me wrong, that is not a huge number for a research study to be taunting to say that, yeah, they have absolutely nailed it down, but 200 is also not such a small number that it's like, hey, this does not warrant, further investigation either. And the identified compound in the blood that may have the strong implications on the severity of a child's autism diagnosis is the 2-dihydroxyacetic acids, or DIHETRE. High levels of the compound appear to affect social interactions, while lower levels appear to correlate to repetitive and restrictive behaviors.
So he said, I think that gives away, like, affects or correlates.
Yeah,
he
correlates
said
it's correlates.
what he means, right?
Yeah, it's not like in order to say it affects, you would have to give it and see if it
Exactly.
if that changes the outcome, which you could do in if you had a good animal model, you could do it in that to see if there's actual cause and effect there, and that's what we do. Like you identify a correlate and say, oh, is this a marker? Is this actually what role is this playing in cause and effect, if any? And then you have to test it that way somehow. But also, what he's saying there is that, high levels were associated with one type of manifestation of autism, and low levels with a different type of manifestation of autism.
Yeah.
Not having autism. So that's interesting. Again, this is all basic science stuff, trying to figure out some of the nuts and bolts of what's happening, again, in a very complicated situation, again, with 100 or more genes involved, all kinds of different enzymes and proteins and whatnot, and their effect on brain development and brain function. And this is one tiny little piece to this vast puzzle. It's not the cause of autism. It's just one tiny piece to an incredibly complicated puzzle. And I don't understand what it means. I haven't read deeply into. I'm not an autism expert, and I haven't read deeply into this particular study. Why? I see studies like this all the time. Again, this is just sort of the background noise of autism research. This is not anything unusual. The fact that it's being spun in this way is just pure sensationalism.
It's just remarkable how much, since the internet and social media in particular, just how much misinformation is out there. It's a daily deluge. It's an onslaught, and it's so hard. I mean, I have trouble parsing through it, and and I've been learning critical thinking for my adult life. I just couldn't imagine what it's like for someone who doesn't have that baloney detector skill set to figure out what to listen to and what not to listen to. It's very difficult.
Yep. I mean, it's like, I guess in misinformation, sensationalism is part of it, right?
Yeah,
to a degree.
There's a lot of sources of misinformation. And misinformation is a spectrum as well,
right.
But, the sensationalism, clickbait, as we now call it, it's all the same thing, is, I think, the 90%er. Like, that's most of it. It's just attention-seeking, clickbait, just... I don't think there's any deliberate deception here. It's just a little bit of journalistic laziness, a little bit of being out of one's depth, wading into a complicated area, without consulting an expert. Right? I mean, back in the day, a real science journalist would, if they were going to write about this study, they would call an expert to tell them what to say, right? That's what you would have to do that. But that's not the culture of social media, which is just shoot from the hip. Everyone's an expert. Just you can read a secondary source and pretend to understand it. But then of course there's also deliberate misinformation, which is either ideologically motivated or just maybe economically motivated. They're trying to sell you something, or whatever. There's some kind of either agenda or massive bias there. It's not just laziness and clickbait.
I don't have OCD. But that guy's half-cocked. The fact that it's not parallel to the bottom frame is like driving me freaking nuts.
Yeah, I get you.
What are you doing, man?
What are you doing? Line it up. I mean, it's because he can move it with his finger so that it doesn't click. It doesn't whatever on TikTok.
I don't like it.
Before we move to the next thing, chat, give me a phrase to put in the weekly email. I ask you every week on Wednesdays to put in the weekly email that you think would entice somebody to click on the link to then join the live stream. I meant to do that earlier. I forgot to, but here we go. All right. So just like any phrase, whatever. It could be something we said. It could be something you just thought of. And I'll pick whatever I like. Okay. So there's the shoe thing, which I don't even know. I mean, it's like all health derives from foot health. It seems like a ancient, weird science, quote unquote, reflexology kind of thing. There's also this guy. Since we were talking about water, maybe we should do this.
Nobody talking.
This is hydrogen water.
Hydrogen.
We've got a bunch of emails actually, even recently, I think, about hydrogenated water.
Oh, you
But
gotta
what
have that
this
hydrogen.
human biologist just said, listen very carefully because you're not going to hear this information anywhere else.
Is hydrogen water by a landslide. But if you can, hydrogen water, by all of the clinical studies, probably 1,400 published peer-reviewed clinical studies on hydrogen water, more than any other type of water on the planet.
It's something that you have to do at home that converts your water to hydrogen water?
Well, you can add hydrogen to your water when you're done. I actually have a little hydrogen bottle. I think I'll fill it with your bottled water, and you just hit a little button and it adds hydrogen ions to the water.
This is going to be the hydrogen water bottle he's talking about right here.
So he's selling, of course, the hydrogen water bottle thing at the end of it. But
I hate that.
Yeah. So I mean, what is that hydrogen thing?
Come on,
like where does that even come
from? You don't put hydrogen in your water?
Yeah, it's just what they said, just adding hydrogen ions, like dissolving it in the water. And the guy's saying there's 1,400 clinical studies. No, there aren't. There may be 1,400. I don't know. 1,400 studies would even be a stretch, but they're not all clinical. And I couldn't find any health benefit. A single study. Establishing that there's any health benefit to drinking hydrogen water. So that's just nonsense.
All right, there you go. Yeah, it's that guy always comes up, and we always get tagged in that video or a similar video. He's a popular.
It's funny though, right?
Like put hydrogen water into PubMed right now. See how many studies.
Oh, that's
one.
It's not 1,400.
Yeah.
We'll teach you guys a little bit of skepticism right now. So a huge red flag, and it's so obvious, but it needs to be said. If somebody's selling something along with scientific information, it's bullshit.
And 99%. You won't hear this anywhere else.
Yeah. The experts don't want you to know. They don't want you to know, but I got it. I know what you need. You need to buy this hydrogen oxygenator, pseudoplastic, whatever. I'll come up with the name for you. I'm going to sell it on TikTok.
All right, then
good rule of thumb is don't buy anything off of TikTok. How about that?
I have done that a couple times. They've got me. There's an African net sponge I just bought.
An African net sponge?
It's basically a deflated loofah. Hold on, let me look it up. But it's actually really good.
All right, but why would you even buy it through the TikTok mechanism?
That was a mistake. That was a mistake. But it was like from a creator who they specifically made it. It wasn't through Amazon.
That's it?
So, well, it doesn't. You know what? Let me see if I can find.
So the first one is a systematic review that basically says all the research is preliminary, meaning it's crap.
Yep.
Does this see how it unfolds long? You can kind of rub your body all over in the thing and stuff.
All right, so it's like a two-handed loofah.
It's like a two-handed loofah. It's pretty good. It lathers up.
Fine.
It's nice.
I'm not dissing the product. I'm just dissing the way you bought it.
I did buy a shirt through TikTok, and it was good. It was like $4. So it's certainly somebody is being abused probably to make that shirt. So I feel bad about it. So now I'm not going to do that anymore. But through the creators, it seems like they're cool. But yeah, I don't know. I don't entirely trust TikTok. But then again, I put it on my credit card and I was like, screw that. Let Visa handle it.
Yeah, that's true. You got to have a layer there.
Like,
don't use your debit card.
No, definitely not.
Unless it has safety measures.
Yeah, I was like, get effed, Visa.
And also, another good point here is buy everything with a frequent flyer. If you're going to spend money and some airline or some credit card is going to give you airline miles with it, do it. You know what I mean? There's credit cards out there that'll give you free stuff just to use the credit card.
Yeah.
So never buy things with your debit card.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Please debate Michael. Okay. On the Olympics thing. Yeah, well, there is an interesting talk that Steve's going to give at SciCon.
Yes.
Which I think is, it's coming up obviously, and I think will be very interesting for skeptics to maybe parse through, right, their own preconceived notions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's you called it when
skeptics disagree.
When skeptics disagree. So that might even be posted online at some point. So if you can't go to SciCon, which apparently this is the last year, so get your tickets.
I got to find out from Barry why it's the last year. I wonder what their decision was.
That's what we've heard from a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So check it out. And then maybe we'll post. Hopefully we can get video or audio from the event of Steve's talk.
Yeah, to make it clear, it seems like somebody didn't understand. Yeah, I'm recommending you don't buy things on TikTok.
Yes. I unfortunately have made that step into buying things on TikTok, so don't maybe take my advice.
I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, Amazon, for all the crying that people could do about it, and is a company ethical? I don't know. It certainly doesn't seem like it. But you get a 30-day return on things. Like you really have consumer protection in the system with an Amazon Prime account. You can return stuff. And I'm telling you, I've done it a lot, and they don't complain.
They used to call it Radio Shack rentals. Now it's Amazon rentals.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're familiar.
No,
with
but they let you try clothes on. They let you could buy it and use it for 30 days. You don't like it, right back. That's it.
Exactly. Okay, so let's see if there is anything else before maybe we move on to the tick-tick-tucks. And so there's that guy, the shoe guy. That's stupid. I hate it. This is a fun one because it's just thinking about conspiracies and
What do you believe that other people will find
what do you
strange or
believe?
strongly disagree with?
Yeah.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but I do have one.
This is
And
how all great
my-
conversations start.
And when I say this, think I'm crazy, but now they're all starting to believe me now. So, you use Google Maps.
Yeah,
Right?
I can't wait to see where this is going.
Have you ever been on Google Maps and you've missed the turn, and then you keep going, and it actually ends up being like 3 minutes quicker?
Yes.
So I have a theory, you know, with the anatomic habits and the percentage of one. I'm like, if Google Maps have some sort of deal with the government to increase everyone's car journey by just 1%, there's going to be 1% more of cars going to all the petrol stations, buying more stuff, so then they're paying more VAT, so then I just like, and then paying more petrol, more diesel. And all my friends say they've noticed it now, and even if I'm like, I know the way home, Google Maps would always send me a slightly longer way.
I put maps on every single time I get in the
So
car.
do I. It's a
I put
quicker
on
way.
Waze.
Yeah.
Waze is very good.
Okay.
And I just want the easiest route. It doesn't always have to be the quickest. I just want the easiest drive.
See, I want the quickest one, it might just get me there. I hate driving.
See, he actually answered the question.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, the GPS apps, whether it's Google Maps or another one, they don't always give you the quickest route.
Mhm.
There
They give
are
you
other
the easiest
criteria.
route,
They
yeah.
might give you the easiest route. Yeah, and you can actually, so there, if you go into it, you
Oh,
can select how to prioritize. Like you could say, I want the shortest distance drive. I want the shortest time of the drive. You could say, I want to avoid highways.
Yep.
I want the scenic
Avoid
route.
I want to avoid
ferries, too.
tolls.
No tolls, yeah.
Yeah, and or they may be avoiding traffic. You know, so you know it's not always the shortest amount of time.
And also, I
But
would
it's
imagine
not a
that
conspiracy.
if you're within a few minutes of some destination and Google's like knows that this path is a minute shorter, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even offer it to you as an option if you're that close.
Mm-hmm.
Like just take what it thinks is the optimal path.
Yeah, sometimes it'll say like this has a similar ETA.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to switch you over because whatever.
And you have to believe a few things in order to believe her conspiracy theory, right? You have to think that the government is look, it's a tough thing to say that the government isn't involved in some form of malfeasance here and there. Of course it is. But in the United States, I wouldn't dare talk about other countries' governments like this. I'm going to talk about the one that I know the best. I don't think the government gives a shit about what she said in any capacity.
Right.
And I certainly don't see any reason why Google would get on board. The company's printing money as it is. I mean, unless they're,
Because they would have to get a kickback from the petrol stations, as she said.
Yeah, or the government could be holding something over Google.
But
being
wouldn't
like,
that have to be like? It's not just a handshake deal. I would assume it's some paperwork, like right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you institute the developers to develop that?
Yeah.
Like to just add a +1 here, develop. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
And,
you know what I mean?
I'll
Like-
tell you another thing. This is an example of you will never know the truth. If they're doing it, you're never going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
And I dare say it's not worth even talking about. Because you're not going to figure anything out. You're not going to uncover anything. You're just going to be kind of questioning it for the whole time you ever use the thing. It's just like, what's the point then? There isn't going to be.
There could be a whistleblower, but
it's not going to happen.
But that's not the reason not to believe in it.
Yes.
The reason not to
There's a
believe in
lot
it
of
is
other
stupid.
It's stupid.
I mean, seriously, because first of
Yeah.
all, why does the government want us wasting gas? Right?
It doesn't make sense. They
It
don't
doesn't
own
make
the oil.
sense.
Well,
I mean-
some of them I do, I guess.
Whatever. It
just
doesn't make
doesn't
any
work.
sense.
It doesn't work
And
in
then
any way.
if they did, they're gonna have Google tweak the algorithm to waste 1%.
Why don't they just put a tax on the gas?
Yeah, that's much more.
It's so much more
so
direct.
much easier.
And you don't need to get in bed with Google.
I think this is people thinking that whole scheme of like, if I take all the pennies that that round up in the ATMs, then I'll make millions of dollars. Like that, wasn't that from what's that movie? Chat, help me out. It's not Office Space. No, it is Office Space. Have you ever watched Office Space?
Yeah, where they shaved off
a penny. It's like they're thinking, oh, that's where it is. It's all this like secret 0.1%, and then we'll make millions of dollars more, and then we can have bunga bunga parties in Ireland or whatever. I don't know. That's too many things. Anyway, let's move on.
You're going to do the TikToks now?
Yeah, we could do TikToks. There's one last one maybe or two, but
You've got two options. You can
traditional medicine in Vietnam. I don't know if you've seen this. This kind of goes in part a little bit with the Olympics. If there's certain medical procedures.
either go to a pharmacy or you can do this. Basically, this is a traditional form of medicine in Vietnam, and you see people walking around like this all the time. If ever you've got a sore throat or a cough, basically they pinch it like this. So what I've asked my guide to do, as he's not battered me, I asked him to do the form of medicine because I really wanted to try and see if it works. So I've had a sore throat for a couple of days and it just won't clear. I've drank 1,000,001 Lemsips and I've just been doing everything I can. So about 20 minutes ago, I asked my guide finally to give it a go. All he's done is pinched me down my neck and it did not hurt at all. It was actually really relaxing. I don't know this, but I think the theory behind it is that maybe it makes the blood rush to that area and helps make it feel better quicker. But he gave me all these along my neck and then he massaged my temples and my forehead. And I do actually feel better. I don't know if it's a placebo effect, but honestly, I felt instantly better. Another way of testing whether to see it works or not
I
is...
feel like this is a good way to be like, no, they're not hickeys. It's a traditional
Here's a
Vietnamese
clue.
cure.
If you felt instantly better, it's 100% placebo effect,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because nothing works instantly physiologically. The other thing is, so yeah, this is very common type of technique. It's like cupping. It's like where they draws blood to the surface. It basically is a hickey, and the idea is that whatever, it depends on how far back you want to go in terms of the explanation. But a lot of it has its origin in bloodletting, you know, and cupping was basically bloodletting, you know.
Yep.
And then it gets retconned to oh, it's getting rid of toxins or it's increasing blood flow or whatever. Which makes no sense, you know.
Yeah, what would the blood flow in your skin have to do with, you know?
It wouldn't.
Steve, we live in a world where people get paid to pinch people's necks.
Yeah. Yep.
When I saw the guy
might have been
doing
free.
it, and like, this is so funny. It's like, she's having a meal. There was food in front of her. And the guy's hovering over her. I'm like, that's weird, dude. Everything, as I catalog...
It comes with the chicken.
I listened to what she said.
I'll have a chicken and a dozen hickeys.
And everything that she said down my list was wrong.
Yeah.
Every statement she made was completely wrong.
You saw much of yeah, that's true. I haven't seen as much cupping this year. There were a couple guys.
It's a couple. A little bit more kinesio tape.
Yeah, the kinesio tape is still... Hey, you know, some of the patterns are like kind of like superhero looking a little bit. They got like a superhero costume kind of feel.
That's kind of cool.
I think that might be part of the reason why they like it.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So yeah, this is, I mean, traditional, silly. But, you know, it's fun. The images the Vatican doesn't want you to see.
Oh, let's see them.
We could do that, or there is... I think that was it. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything.
Who wants to see some images that the Vatican did not want you to see?
Okay.
These are some
All right, this
pictures
is the Michelangelo thing.
The Vatican would not
We didn't
give
actually get to this.
neuroscientists permission to publish in the journal Neuroscientist in 2022.
Wait, stop there.
Go ahead.
She just said that the Vatican would not give neuroscientists the permission to publish images. I mean,
Seems a little silly.
I mean, is there any reality to that? Like, are these images owned by the Vatican to the point where you can't? I don't know.
Doesn't seem like that would be. But
No.
have you heard of the claim, if you will, or the statement, I guess maybe, that Michelangelo painted brains and other physiological things into the Sistine Chapel? Specifically, like the one that I used actually on the thumbnail for YouTube is, let's see, Sistine Chapel brain. Let me bring that up. Here it is. This image specifically is supposed to be a slice of the brain.
Yeah.
You know, that's a classic.
It also looks like a heart to me, you know?
It's true. So is it pareidolia, or is this... There are some, like, historians that think that it could be that he's, like, giving,
Sure.
allusions to that, kind of being subtly...
Artists do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sure. I have no specific information about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little non-specific, so it could just be pareidolia. Like if it matched in some anatomical detail that couldn't be just pareidolia or coincidence, then I would be more intrigued. But just like a general silhouette of a brain, which is like a boxing glove, is not compelling.
And we know that he understood human anatomy.
Yeah.
He definitely, I think, am I correct here? I forget. Did he actually do autopsies to see what the muscles look like and stuff?
I know that Leonardo da Vinci did.
Yeah, da Vinci did.
I don't know if Michelangelo did.
Or maybe he
might
saw
have.
drawings and stuff.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, so there's some other ones like dogfish brain, which I don't. Is that a fish? I guess I don't even know what that is.
One thing I can tell you,
Doesn't really
Ian,
look like it.
is commanding Who's That Noisy? Driving the Who's That Noisy segment
Yeah.
for so long. everything sounds like everything. Everything looks like everything. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
just because they
We're good
look,
at pattern recognition.
Yeah, the
We're
pattern
good at
recognition.
seeing connections.
Like the
Look at this
similarity
one.
here is
The
the
butt.
butt. That's
The
it.
butt is so funny.
That's it. There's nothing else that matches, and that two things like that, like a dolphin brain looks like a butt.
Yeah,
You know what I
probably.
mean? So I don't think there's any.
And it's a frog brain, apparently. Yeah, it's like it seems like they're just retconning it a little bit. You know,
Yeah,
it's
and,
like
and these artists, who we're talking about here, they don't need that. They don't need, they wouldn't need that inspiration for that.
But
If-
they
could have.
They did include a lot of iconography in the paintings, sometimes surreptitiously, and so it's plausible to that degree. Like, would they do something like that? Absolutely.
Sure, I wouldn't put it past them to
Yeah.
do something like that, but I just don't think, and I don't think the Vatican said you can't use.
That
part is weird.
That seems like silly. I don't know why they would do that either.
Yeah, I mean,
unless it was just generically, we don't allow anybody to republish pictures of our whatever.
Yeah, but
It
the
had nothing to
copyright
do
law,
with-
like I don't know.
they wanted to pretend. I don't know.
Well, what's interesting, I think it says it took 500 years before anyone could show pictures. It's like, well, we haven't had pictures that long.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a point. You're on to something there, Ian.
I guess it did. It took thousands of years before, if anything. So anyway, so that's a fun, just little.
Yeah, thank you for that.
There's a lot of things on TikTok that are just like, huh? Like, what are we talking about again? I think that was all of the TikToks, surprisingly. We went through a lot of them, skipped a few that were just, no, thank you. There's a little goofy. So we can get into the actual meaty TikToks.
Yes.
So
All right,
we have...
I'm going to dip out. I've got work I got to do.
Well, you got to help me with the thing.
Yeah, I'm going to do that while you guys are doing the TikToks.
Oh, okay. All right, so he's going to do that.
And then you and I have to meet with Kernan.
Oh,
today.
right.
Goodbye, everybody. What
so-
am I going to say, Steve,
all right, so-
before I leave? What am I going to tell everyone?
Be a dick to everybody.
Be
else.
Be a complete... No. It's very brief. I won't belabor this. Just be nice to people.
Be excellent to each
Be
other.
excellent to each other. So I always say, like,
that video.
pick someone in your life. You could be nice to strangers. That's always great. Just put a good common vibe out there. But if there's somebody in your life that you haven't talked to, or a family member that you haven't talked to, or somebody that you know is having a problem or is down, just give them a call and tell them you love them. Say hi. Spread some love around because you have it in your heart. Why wouldn't you express it if you have it? And it makes the world a better place. It really does make the world a better place. I believe that. Because, perception is huge in how we feel and what we think. And you can change someone's perception on how their day is going just by calling them up and saying, hey, I just called because I was thinking about you and I love you. That's
Hopefully
it.
we don't get copyright claims, but here we go.
Be excellent to each other.
I call Ian up every day and tell him I love him. He hangs up on me. Just I don't even say. He doesn't even say anything.
Well, I'm too busy being excellent.
Yeah.
So I have no time to talk. I'm sorry.
Just do it.
Just do it.
It's the right thing to do.
Just hashtag
The world
do it.
is so full of problems today.
That's true. All right,
All right,
let's
boys.
get on to the tickety talks. We'll move it. All right. We're not going to do the aphantasia one, I think. That one.
Thank you.
Do this camera.
Okay. We're getting prepped for our trip to Chicago.
Chicago.
Chicago. So there we go. Got that going. Next
What?
Wednesday?
Do what next Wednesday?
The TikToks.
Oh, we should skip it. Yeah.
So next Wednesday, yeah, we're going to skip.
No live stream next Wednesday because we'll be prepping for Chicago.
Yeah, and no live stream Friday because we literally traveling. Well, actually, that's not true. We'll be traveling, but we'll probably have an IRL with my IRL live streaming backpack. Hopefully, it will work, and we'll do some food touring and stuff like that. Okay. Any particular one you want to do first, or
I don't care.
You don't care. Well, let me stop recording on this other one. All right, well, let me just let that go. So while we're waiting, you can put in some questions in the chat, and maybe I'll save them if you guys want any questions or if you have any statements. If you haven't filled out the what SGU means to me, it's on the homepage. You click that. You could fill that out. Let us know what you think about the SGU over the years, yada yada. Because we'll probably talk about some of those on the 1000th show, which is happening again in Chicago
next
weekend. No, well, not this weekend coming up, but the following.
Yeah,
yes,
10 days
the actual next weekend. Right, not this one. How are the petunias doing? Are they still growing?
They have run
or
their
glowing,
course.
rather? They've run their course of glow.
Yeah, I think I don't know how long they're supposed to survive, but they're not flowering anymore, so
Yeah.
they've run their course.
But the little ones were really bright. That's
They were
pretty
bright,
cool.
Yeah, it was fun. We got a good month out of them.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's pretty neat. So they obviously have to be around sunlight, right? First, is that?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's all bioluminescent.
It's not
or
fluorescent.
It's not fluorescent, right?
Yeah, it's bioluminescent.
Oh, okay.
It's not like it's absorbing the sunlight
Right, I thought
and
it was
giving it
that.
off. It's just producing it by itself.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so that stopped. Okay, let me hit record. We'll go to the first one, which is this. And we'll full screen.
My biological age.
Oh God, stop. Your biological nothing. Okay, there we go. We're good. All right, here we go.
My biological age, 30. Wow. My chronological age, my real age, I'm 68. I'm going to be 68 this year. I've been taking algae every single day for 14 years. I couldn't imagine what I would do without it. You take spirulina, you don't need a multivitamin, you don't need fish oil, you don't need collagen powder, you don't need CoQ10. Cleans out about 5 or more supplements. And when you take chlorella every day, you don't ever need to eat another vegetable again in your life. 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula, 25 times more chlorophyll than even liquid chlorophyll.
Never eat a vegetable again in your life is wild. Can you push the Jay's chair out of the way if you don't mind? Yeah, just like right. Very good. All right, we're rolling.
So this is an old snake oil scam here. This is a superfood, spirulina. It's basically pond scum, pond algae. The idea is that it's so nutritious that it could replace other foods or a whole bunch of other things that will make you magically healthy. All these claims are nonsense. I love the one, though, that it has more chlorophyll than chlorophyll. I wonder how that works. But it also is assuming that like eating chlorophyll is somehow magically good for you, too. It isn't. Chlorophyll is just another source of plant, of nutrient, but it's not like your body uses the chlorophyll as chlorophyll. It digests it. But in any case, so yeah, spirulina, it's just a plant food. And it has nutrients in it, sure, but it's not a superfood. It's not better than eating blueberries or strawberries or anything else like that. Strawberries taste a lot better than spirulina. The core claim, though, I want to zero in on there is that you never have to eat another vegetable if you eat the algae. That's exactly why you shouldn't rely on these alleged superfoods, which again is not a thing. Because and again, we have lots of evidence to suggest this, that taking multivitamins or taking vitamins or any kind of nutritional supplement like this, whatever form it takes, is not a substitute for having a good, healthful diet. It is not a substitute for eating your fruits and vegetable. You still need to eat vegetables. You get lots of other things like fiber and whatnot. Also, I love the spirulina. You get them in like these little pills. How much do you think is in there? You can't survive on those things. So the entire claim is just nonsense meant to sell product. Although I love how she says she has a biological age of 30. What's that based on? Certainly doesn't look 30 to me. But what series of validated, standardized tests is that claim based upon? So I think you can comfortably ignore just about everything that she said.
All righty, got it. All right, let's move on to the next one. TikTok picture.
I wrote about spirulina like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it is that quote-unquote superfood.
Superfood.
It's in everything. I mean, they put it in like smoothies and stuff all the time. It's like crazy. Ugh. Tastes like garbage. All right, let's move on. Ignoring my how old do I look? Ignoring your gray hair?
Irrelevant.
Who knows? Irrelevant. Okay, let's hit.
So I
Turns
sent you
out
a
that the
picture,
majority.
In
Just do
email
the very
or
big.
text?
I just want to do the very beginning of this.
Very beginning of that. Okay. Let me. Where did you sent? You emailed it to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me find that. Get too many.
You don't have to show
emails.
it during my talk, but you can add it in later. But you could show it right now.
Where is it? I don't actually see your email.
It's map. I sent it to Ian at Digital
Okay,
Media.
that's one. Okay, let's just check that one. All right, let me play the beginning of this.
Yeah.
And let me stop this. Hold on. And then let me record again. I'll play the beginning. We'll find it.
Turns out that the majority of UFO sightings occur along the 37th parallel of the United States. It also turns out that most cattle mutilations are along the 37th parallel. It also turns out that almost all of America's underground military bases are along the 37th parallel of the United States. The Pentagon, Cheyenne Mountain, Fort Knox, all the way over to Area 51. Now, Chuck is investigating UFOs. He starts to have weird run-ins. Now, you would think he's having run-ins with the government because the government used to investigate UFOs in this country. There was something called Project Blue Book. After that, there were 2 other secret projects. But the government no longer investigates UFOs. Turns out Chuck was having run-ins with a private corporation. If you get a copy of an FAA manual that all of our civilian pilots use, and you look through it deep into the writing, what a pilot is supposed to do if they see something in the air, they don't report it to the FAA, they don't report it to their airline because then they will be fired, they report it to Bigelow. Bigelow gets all this information. He sends out paid for teams of investigators who investigate UFOs. Now, Chuck started having run-ins with them. He didn't really know what was going on. The story comes to a head at Roswell, as all UFO stories do. If you know anything about Roswell, it's very kitschy. You know, you can go there now and eat a hamburger in an alien UFO-shaped restaurant, or go to the alien ball dressed as your favorite Wookiee. But the reality is the story behind Roswell is fascinating. In 1947, America's first nuclear base was there. It's called Walker Air Force Base. They started to track something coming through a storm in the middle of the night in July. Whatever that thing was hit by lightning and crashed on a ranch in Roswell. It spread metallic debris over 300 yards of this ranch. The metallic debris was covered in weird hieroglyphics. It was made of a material that people couldn't identify. The rancher sees all this crap on his lawn. He calls up the sheriff. The sheriff calls the Air Force Base. They send out a team. The team gathers up the debris and then puts out a press release. The press release from the U.S. Air Force says, "We now have in our possession a flying saucer." This is true. 2 hours later, they rescind their press release. They gather up all the material. They go for inch by inch and gather it all up. They put it on a plane. First, they land in Dallas, where they stage a photograph with a radar operator sitting amongst the debris of a broken weather balloon. Now, everyone who was involved in that photograph has since come forward and said it was fake. The person who took the photograph, the person in the photograph, and the person who ordered the photograph. Anyways, the debris was then carted to Area 51, where it is to this day. Now, for whatever reason, the Air Force will not release the files on this crash. These files do exist. For whatever reason, the government will not show us what was at Roswell. I have seen documents which say that it is still to this day unidentified debris. That's very strange. This was a long, long time ago. So anyways, I dove into this story about the 37th parallel, and I have come to believe that there is a very good chance that whatever crashed at Roswell was not from here. As I said, my parents hate me saying that, because the reality is when you talk about UFOs, there's a giggle factor. Everyone assumes you're nuts. A respected sheriff can't look at a UFO or a crash site and say it's a UFO without getting fired. A journalist can't talk about UFOs without hearing X-Files music in the background. And no scientist can look into it, with the possible exception of the people that Robert Bigelow has hired, but we don't know what they're doing with the materials that they find. So I want to leave you with this. The impediments to believing that someone has come here from another planet have actually disappeared. We used to think there wasn't life out there, right? Now we're all pretty sure there probably is. We find an Earth-like planet almost every day. We used to think these planets are too far away, right? But we now know that's not true. Proxima Centauri, which is one of these planets, is reachable by current technology in 40 years. That's not that long. So, those two reasons aren't around anymore. The Catholic Church recently put out a weird little edict where they said, if we do discover life on other planets, it will not affect Catholic doctrine. I think they're covering their bases, right? But I think that there is a sea change going on in the opinions of whether or not there's life on other planets and whether or not they could come here. And to be honest, looking at the news that we're seeing every day, if a UFO landed on the White House lawn tomorrow, it wouldn't even be the top 5 strange things in the newspaper today. Anyways, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know what part you wanted to stop. I just let it go.
All right, whatever. Yeah. It just,
maybe I'll grab the part where he's like a journalist, a scientist can't, whatever. We'll see.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
We'll feel it. All right, here, we're rolling.
Wow, so that was a lot of stuff. Almost none of it true. I guess you could conspire. You could make a conspiracy theory if you're willing to make up all the facts. The notion that most UFO sightings happen along the 42nd parallel is simply not true. You could look at a map of UFO sightings; they're all over the place. If they follow any pattern, they tend to follow a few. They follow areas where there's a lot of population. So, of course, more people, more sightings. They tend to cluster around dark sky locations. Yeah, because you're going to see more stuff in the sky if it's not all blocked out by ambient light. And they tend to occur more where there are Air Force bases. There's a reason for that, because a lot of people identify the jets, or especially planes that they're not used to seeing, and they think that they're quote-unquote UFOs, or unidentified flying objects. So other than that, they're pretty much widely distributed. So this notion that they're somehow clustering around the U.S. underground military bases is simply not true. It's also not true that the military bases cluster around that same parallel, and he seems to be, the Pentagon's an underground military base, Fort Knox. Wasn't aware of that. And is he saying he knows where they all are? So that sounds like he's just making up the facts in order to fit this narrative, and yet the actual objective facts do not fit that. But then he launches into a complete mischaracterization of the Roswell incident. First of all, a little nitpick. At the time, it was the Army Air Force. The Air Force hadn't existed yet. But in any case, there was nothing struck by lightning that crashed on the ranch in Roswell. The rancher found the debris on the ranch, didn't know what it was, so he called it in. And it looked strange to them because it was, it looked like this metallic fabric, because it was of metallic looking fabric. And so the investigation found that it was essentially a corner reflector and a weather balloon. That's what it was. We now know that it was part of Project Mogul. Now, the notion that the government is still hiding it and still saying we don't know what it is just completely a fabrication. It's not true. They've said what it is. They said, yeah, it was Project Mogul. We were covering it up at the time because we were spying on Soviet nuclear testing. And we didn't want to tell the public, oh, yeah, we're spying on the Soviets. That's what that is. So they did not disclose that. They said it was just a weather balloon. But actually, initially, the first person that arrived there said it was a flying saucer. Now, why is that? The term flying saucer had just been coined. And it was a term basically used in the popular culture at the time for anything strange in the sky. And he wasn't saying we found an alien spacecraft. He was saying, looks like we got one of them flying saucers, meaning something strange that fell out of the sky. And that was it. And this was like overnight, the person who was covering, who didn't really know what they were doing. And then the next day, when the people who were actually in charge came in, they were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't say that. That's misleading. Let's come up with the real cover story that it was a weather balloon, because we can't say it was Project Mogul and tip our hand that we're spying on Soviet nuclear testing. That's the story. It was balsa wood, right? It was aluminum foil, and it was tape. There were no hieroglyphics. There was no material that couldn't be identified. That's all made up. None of that is true. Look into it. The Roswell incident, it's a complete nothing. It was just a crashed corner reflector and a weather balloon that was part of Project Mogul and nothing else. But if you're willing to just make up facts or listen to any strange facts just because they support your narrative, again, you could gin that up into a conspiracy that isn't real. That's all he is doing.
Alrighty, very good.
All right.
Just so that the TikTokers don't yell at us, he said 37th parallel. Not that it fucking matters. Like, it's the same. Whatever. 42nd, though, is a great number.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But again, the map shows they're all over the place.
Look at this. I gotta yell at somebody on TikTok. Look at this high fruit dude. Look at this high fruit. He's calling us a low fruit, intellectual, non-intellectual live. How dare you? You're the high fruit. Anyway, that doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what that means. Let's go ahead with Dowsing. We'll move on to that, which is just classic. Clearly somebody's into
Have we talked about Dowsing on TikTok yet?
There was the girl who was like twisting the rods, and she was like, see, if I move my hands real quick, the rods don't move. And the whole point is like,
oh yeah, she was doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. Okay, here we go.
Adventure, we made dowsing rods.
Make dowsing rods.
Yesterday on our bunker adventure, we made dowsing rods.
Make dowsing rods. Use dowsing rods.
All right, let's try them outside.
Real quick, let's just admire how nice my vegetable garden is.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to check and see on something where I know the utilities are. See this red line right here? We had the utility company mark our power line in. So that's how I know it's there. I watched a bunch of videos on this. So hopefully I got this right. We're gonna walk forward. Dude, I do not like how unnerving that is. Right over top of it, it turns itself. I swear on all that is good that I am not turning those. That's creepy, brother. This time I'm gonna close my eyes and just walk forward, and when I feel like they've turned, because I can feel them turning, but I'm not turning them, I'm going to squint really hard so you guys don't say, well, you're just looking through your eyelids, because I can do that sometimes, you know? Let's just walk, open, directly over them. Is not right. Something is wrong with this, but let's go try it out in the yard anyway. They say it also finds water line.
All right, cool. They say it also finds. I was like, I thought it only found water, but I guess it finds whatever you want to find.
Yeah, whatever you could douse for anything.
All right, we're rolling.
So good old-fashioned dowsing. This is a good classic pseudoscience. There's two words to explain what's going on there. The ideomotor effect, right? How does he swears he's not consciously moving those rods, and I believe him. He's not doing it consciously. He's doing it subconsciously. You could make subtle movements that you're not aware of. The ideomotor effect. And if you've ever played with dowsing rods, which I have, they're designed to be very, very sensitive, to move with the slightest adjustment. You can get them to move. So it's very easy to inadvertently cause them to move when you know they're supposed to, right? He knows where the line is, and so they turn just when it's supposed to turn. The closing his eye things is nonsense because he's 2 steps back. He takes 2 steps forward. He knows where the line is. That wasn't a control. And now, in order to test if dowsing actually worked and is not just the ideomotor effect, then you need to do a truly blinded test. For example, the person doesn't know if they're walking over a target or not. They're trying to identify completely unknown water lines or power lines or whatever, and you have positive targets and controls where there's no target and see if they can do it. Whenever you do that, right? Whenever you do a properly blinded test of dowsing, it doesn't work. That's been true for decades. This has been studied over and over and over again. It only works when you know where the target is. If you properly blind it, you do a good scientific study, dowsing is not real. You know why dowsing is not real? Because magic is not real. There's no mechanism there. There's no mechanism by which a pipe of water in the ground is going to cause those rods to move, right? So in any case, we don't have to speculate about a mechanism because it doesn't work. It objectively does not work. Again, it's been studied over and over again. No good test of dowsing has ever shown that it is a real phenomenon.
All right, we did it.
We're done.
We're done. Anybody else got some stuff to say in the chat? James Randi's challenge did so many.
James told me that like 90% of the James Randi challenges were basically one form of dowsing or another.
Yeah.
It is very susceptible to self-deception. It's a great example of self-deception. And so that's why, in order to think you're going to win the $1 million from the James Randi Educational Foundation, you have to think that you're actually going to succeed. And so that means it's mainly people who are self-deceived, and that's like, dowsing is the perfect setup for that, because these people are self-deceived. That's the whole point of the ideomotor effect. They don't realize they're doing it. It's amazing. It works every time, So that's all that is.
Your skepticism is out of date, bro. Why are you bashing on a person? Believe. Keep to science.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm talking about science. He's making a claim that dowsing is real, and he's trying to demonstrate it. I'm saying there's been scientific studies showing dowsing is not real.
Yeah.
He's not talking about his faith. He's making an empirical claim about physical reality. Yeah. That is science. When you step into that arena, then you are subject to logic and evidence. And what I'm saying is the evidence does not support that dowsing is real. This is not about someone's faith or belief. It's about reality.
Yeah, and even though it kind of seems like cute, like what does it harm? What's the harm in that? It's like, well, I think also don't people pay people to do dowsing, so you're like wasting money, and it just probably leads to
It can be part of a scam. It can be,
it
actually can be an actual scam.
So scams are bad, and so no scams, please. Okay. Any other? It's philosophy. Oh my God, bro. There are like actual instances of colonization and like, white supremacy. This is not one of them.
I don't even know if this guy's serious.
Yeah, he must be out of it. It's just TikTok
It's
nonsense.
either a troll or a poet. Or
like dowsing is not one of them, dude. Like, look for
science
real stuff.
Science is not philosophy. But dowsing is not philosophy. It's a claim about empirical reality.
Yeah,
that is science. And no, that's not colonizing.
That's not neocolonialism.
Yeah.
You need to think more critically about actual.
You got to dismiss all of science because some cultures developed it at different rates than other cultures. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. You got to read more books.
Yeah. Read more philosophy too.
Yeah.
Like read the philosophy of science. That would be helpful.
That's a good one. Anyway, what else? Any other questions from the chat? Imagine dowsing because you're a sacred cow. Yeah.
Dowsing is your sacred cow.
That's my sacred cow. Being your sacred. Yeah, it seems like
there are a lot of dumber things.
I guess that's true. You know what? Maybe not that bad. All right, so next Wednesday, again, we're off. No stream here on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and TikTok. And next Friday, also off, except we will have the stream, but it'll be a foodie stream in Chicago.
Food crawl through Chicago.
Yeah, not this Friday coming up, but the following Friday.
Yeah.
And then also the 1000th show. So if you are a patron, patreon.com/skepticsguide, the 1000th show live stream will be made available to you.
All 5 hours.
All 5 hours. So stick around for that. And it'll only be available to patrons until the audio posts, and then I think we're going to post the video on Spotify because we think we got to connect there, and then we'll eventually do it on YouTube. But that will be what it is. So if you join at the $5 level on Patreon, you will have access to it. You got to be a patron. And thanks. We will have fun in Chicago. Keep sending in the food recommendations, rather. We have a bunch. We're going to try to hit the kind of some of the kitschy ones. Sorry, I know we're not hitting your favorite whatever. but you know,
can't hit everyone.
We can't hit all of them all. There's only
and we may
30
get
for 3
conflicting
days.
recommendations.
Yes, we have already.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best beef, Italian beef in Chicago?
Somewhat
It's like,
subjective.
whatever. Yeah.
I definitely want to taste Chicago's best pizza.
Yeah.
And Chicago's best beef.
Yes.
Those
That
two
is,
things.
we will find. I mean,
And apparently all the hot dogs are good. So
all the hot dogs are good.
Yeah.
The pizza thing is a toss up because I like Lou Malnati's. Pequod's is okay. Pizzeria Uno is the original
$5 a
one.
month or
You know,
more.
$5. I assume. Well, it's $5 a month technically, but like if you want to cancel, fine. But like maybe become a patron and stay at the $5 level a month, or you could upgrade to the $8 level, which is the ad free episode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is cool. And you get a bunch of other stuff.
And premium content, yeah.
Yes, premium content. You get all that fun stuff, extended interviews and all that kind of thing. Goody.
Thomas Kuhn would not disagree with me. In fact, Thomas Kuhn once famously said that he is not a Kuhnian because his work has been so tremendously misconstrued over the years. And
Yep.
Yes, I've studied epistemology too, by the way.
Yeah. It's not our first rodeo. Steve has only been doing this
For what, 30 years?
Not only skepticism, and then the podcast for 20. So it's like, I mean, it's been a little bit.
Well,
of
whatever.
time.
Look it up.
Whatever. Look it up.
Read a little bit about the
Hashtag look it
philosophy
up.
of science, about epistemology.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, it's science is not colonizing.
Right. And there's actual things to be mad about white supremacy, not fucking
That's not
dowsing.
one of them.
Like
Yeah.
that's come on.
Yeah, understanding how the world works is not one of them.
Yeah. Anyway, we're all done. Thank you everybody for being here. We'll see you next
Have a
time.
good week.
Hit them with that end music, and we're out.